Okay.
Started.
Hello. Right. We've started the recording. So, hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us. And welcome to our last webinar of 2023, Beyond Welcome Emails, How to Create a New Supporter Journey. So we're very excited to be going through this webinar with you today, which will be led by our wonderful marketing manager, Alex. So I will just quickly introduce myself and then hand over to Alex to take you all through this on this journey. So my name is Louise. I'm the Chief Growth Officer at CiviPlus. Basically, I've been working, I used to be a fundraiser, worked lots of different CRMs and really understand the difference using a good one makes to an organization. And very excited to be working, meeting all our CiviPlus and Civi CRM users, and basically showing the rest of the world also how much having a CRM like Civi can really enhance your organization. Although your CRM can be the best CRM in the world, however, you need to have a bit of a strategy in place about how to get the most out of it. And that's what we're going to be talking about today, giving you some insights and information about kind of, the onboarding journey for any new supporters or new members to your organization. So I'm going to now hand over to Alex to introduce himself and take us away.
Yeah, well, I mean, Louise already sort of introduced me, but yeah, I'm the marketing manager here. So I do a lot with emails and, events and all the kind of things that you find are standard in many onboarding journeys. And we'll really be getting into that today. So you can see the basic kind of agenda we've got for coming up. You'll be hearing me speak a lot today. I think it's mostly just me. So I hope that's a good thing. But yeah, so we've got lots of different things coming up. And before we start, we like to run a little poll just to see like how people are feeling about things. So I will just get that up. So you should see a poll on your screen. So yeah, we like to ask kind of what database people are using, but also like with this one, what kind of onboarding plans have you all got going? Have you got an onboarding plan not together at all, or have you just got the welcome email? So I'll give you a little bit of time to fill that in whilst you read through all the questions.
Yes, and I think we've got a few people still just joining us. So if you've just joined us, feel free to please introduce yourself in the chat. Perhaps, what organization you're from and where you are in the world. And if there are any questions, you can pop them in the chat. But really, it's probably we'll have time at the end for some questions. So please feel free to hang back and we can have a bit of a chat at the end.
Yep. Okay, I will end the poll then and share the results. So we've got a lot of Civi users here today, as we often do, because we are in the Civi world. Some people using other CRM and some still on spreadsheets. But as for how people are feeling about their supporter plans, I think it's good news to see that everyone like has some kind of plan. No one's saying that they don't have a plan, because that wouldn't be great. But kind of a good mix there between people who have a basic plan and a welcome email. So it sounds like kind of lots of people who are looking for more tips and possibly to expand their onboarding journeys. And hopefully that's something that we'll be discussing in more detail today. So great. Okay, I will close that then. So let's get into the meat of what we're discussing today with onboarding strategies. So let's discuss, first of all, what is an onboarding strategy? Why do we do these things? So before we get into the what, let's kind of like first think about why. Why are we even talking about onboarding strategies, bringing people on board? Why is this important to us? And just before I get into the different details, I think I'll say that we've got lots of different people here today from charities and membership organizations. So we'll be trying to pull kind of examples from both. Everyone's kind of got different organizations and different kind of ways they'll onboard people because of that. Some membership organizations might be onboarding actual organizations, whereas obviously most charities will just be onboarding individual people. So covering kind of a broad range of things here. So maybe not everything here is going to be 100% relevant, but there'll be lots of different things, some of which you can pull out from. So why do we need one? Well, the first reason is it's going to lay the foundation for your shared future. So the onboarding strategy is very much about your first contact with the person. They have made a decision to be your supporter. That's fantastic. We have them on board. They're invested. They feel good about making a decision to support you. We want to make sure that they have a great foundation for you to build upon for the future with them, and that they, can see the value in the future. We also want to maximize supporter retention. So obviously we have our new supporters. We really need to keep them now. So we want to be starting from the very beginning. We don't want to kind of just come to that when it comes to renewal or thinking about repeat donor time. We want to be building that into the very beginning of the process. How are we going to keep them? How are we going to get them to come back? We want to be improving supporter engagement. So it's about how people actually kind of interact with your content. Do they know what's going on with your organization? Not just, oh, I've donated or I'm a member, and then they kind of forget about you for a few months. It's making sure that they actually see what you're doing. And if you start kind of like at the beginning, making sure that they're invested and that they see what you're doing, they're more likely to then continue into the future, reading what you're doing and engaging with various platforms. And of course, a really important point here, something that most organizations would like to do is encourage people to be more involved and also to get involved in advocacy. So this can vary in a lot of different ways. Maybe you have volunteers, maybe you have committees. They might want people to become involved in those in the future. So that's something that you really want to make sure that people do. And you also want to think about advocacy. And this doesn't just mean like advocacy for your cause, for your mission necessarily. It could mean advocacy in terms of persuading other people in their area to become members, to become also donors for you. So it's how can we encourage people to become, our biggest supporters. And of course, all of this comes back to, how can we increase our future revenue potential? As we kind of touched on in retention, we're, to run the missions, to run the organizations that many of you do, you need to make sure that you're bringing in steady revenue and increasing revenue. So how can we get these people to upgrade in the future and just, at a baseline, repeat what they've already done to make sure that you can continue? So these are all key considerations that and a good onboarding strategy will help. So what exactly is an onboarding strategy? Well, we've got a basic definition here. It's all about having a structured plan that's going to be designed to welcome new people to your organization. You're going to have to think as part of this, what information is it that you need to share? And how many times will you need to communicate, with the person to communicate all of this information? If you have a wide range of things that you need to communicate, then that's going to take more time. Or if it's a bit more complex, you might need to repeat it a few times just to make sure it sinks in properly. So these are things you need to keep in mind in this plan. How long is the onboarding timeline? Timelines are certainly something we'll be discussing quite a bit later. So that's something that you're going to be needing to think about. And also, what are the key milestones and touch points along the way? So what are the ways that you're going to be communicating with them? Email's the obvious one, but there are other ones. And also, are there any kind of like the end of onboarding? How does that transition? Are there any other points in the future you want to kind of look out for? So here we've kind of got an example timeline. We're going to look into some more specific ones later with a few more details filled in, but that might be an example for we're sending out a group of emails, and from the day of joining, they get the welcome email, and then as time goes on, they get different emails all the way up to day 30. So now today's webinar is called Beyond Welcome Emails, but I still think it's worth talking about the welcome email itself. All of you seem to have one, which is great, but let's have a think and see, what is it we're actually trying to do in the welcome email, so we can think, what are we trying to do after the welcome email? So what are we looking to achieve? First thing we're looking to do is we're looking to confirm the supporter status. So we're looking to say that you are now a member, or that you have now had your donation has been received by us. This is super important. It's like a little admin thing almost, but we all know what it's like. You fill in a form, especially if it's got money involved. You don't receive any email receipt nowadays, and it's just kind of like expected that you're going to get an email receipt and people are going to confirm, yes, actually, you have done this. We know that you have done this. Peace of mind, just a small thing that you always want to make sure you cover. Another thing that you want to do, and we'll be saying this a few times today, you want to be reinforcing your mission. So it's a really good thing to get in your supporters' minds what exactly you do and why they're supporting you. Make sure that it's something that they can easily communicate in a sentence or two. If they come up to about 6 months, a year down the line, and they kind of vaguely remember what you do, but not specifically, it means you've not put it enough time in your communication. So just put it again and again, we're using this in order to do Y. This is going to support X. These kind of messages do kind of get ingrained if people see it a lot. So don't, forget to put that in. If you provide any benefits, any services, make sure to highlight these. Now, you can't communicate all of them all at once. That would be overwhelming if you provide, a lot of them. But at the same time, make sure you highlight any really key ones that you really want to make sure are communicated. Make sure you link to any essential resources or services. So if you have any essential resources you want to highlight in the first email, make sure you put the link to them and say, this is where you can go. And by the same merit, you can say, if there's some special way for them to contact you, maybe if you have a don't reply email, make sure that they know, well, this is how you would get in touch with us if you have any immediate questions. And make sure that you're setting the tone of your new relationship properly. So this is a massively important thing. You want to make sure that you're personal in it. You want to make sure, it's warm. It's not, you can have different tones. You might have a formal tone. You might have an informal tone, depending on your organization. But you want to make it sound like, we care about the specific person. We value them. They're not just a number to us because they have, given you money. So it's something to make sure to do. As for specific do's and don'ts, one thing I'd always say is that you want to put crucial information at the top or bottom of any email. If you have a longer email, if you put stuff in the middle, people tend to skim that bit quite often when they're reading emails. They look at the top, obviously people read the top, and the bottom, that's also where people's kind of attention is drawn. If you really have to put something in the middle, my advice would be to use bold or underline to highlight key information. Don't underestimate the power of this. People will have their eyes drawn to certain parts of the email. So keep that in mind and think about how you might want to utilize that. Use tokens and merge tags. So some of you might be familiar with those, basically, and we'll see an example in a bit. These are parts of emails where if you're using an automated email or kind of like a mass email, you can send put a little kind of thing in which kind of says, like first name. So dear first name, and then your system will automatically put someone's first name in or a different piece of information it's pulling from your database. So that's something that you don't need to type out yourself, but you can make it feel personalized using that. Make sure to express thanks. This sounds like, a very simple point, and of course we're expressing thanks, but make sure you actually state it. You are thankful that they have given you money, and make sure the person feels that. You want to make them feel all warm and fuzzy. So making it very clear and not forgetting to do that is always important. And as I said, if you can automate these things, it's even better. We're all very busy people, and if you're receiving a lot of people signing up at the same time, then doing that manually is going to take a lot of time. So if you can have your membership or your donation sign up, kind of have an automated response with an email, just confirming these basic things, save you so much time. So what shouldn't you do? Well, you shouldn't make your email too long. You're going to have lots of communications with your new supporter in the future. So don't put everything at once. People have a limited attention spans, sadly. So put only the key information in. Sorry. And don't give people too many things that you want them to do all at once. So if they get asked to do lots and lots of different things, they might end up, only doing 2 or 3 of them. So make sure that you just put your key thing. So, oh, sorry about this.
Have a drink of water.
I'll continue for now, but if it continues. In any case, so this might be things like sharing social media, sharing and liking things on social media might be a good ask here, or simple things like, find our resources, look at our services. These are the kind of things, and we'll be talking a bit more about asks later. At the same time, you don't want to be forgetting to ask something of your supporters. When they sign up, they will be the most engaged that, they're going to be for the foreseeable future. They're really excited. They've just spent money, so they really are very invested. Make sure to ask something of them, even if it is, as I say, just something small, like following you on social media. A big mistake might be just, send out the email, not ask anything of them. And don't make the email sound bland or impersonalized. Again, whatever the tone of, so the register of your email, maybe it's formal or informal, you can still sound warm, you can still sound personal. Make sure you refer to specific details like their name and maybe how much they've donated or how, what membership tier they're on. These are things which make people feel like, actually you're treating me as an individual, and building that kind of connection is super important. So I've got a couple of examples of how you might want to look at a welcome email here. Here we've got kind of a charity that's involved in books. So we've got our merge tags, first of all. We've got the contact's first name, which will come up. We've also got the contribution amount. And then after that, we've got the donation. Donation is going to make a big difference. We've got the what next. So you've given your donation, but, that's great. You want a continuing relationship with your new donor at this point. You don't want to say, oh, thanks for the donation, goodbye. No, how can we keep them invested and let them know kind of like almost subconsciously that actually, yes, this is the start of a relationship now. And so as we can see here, we'll be sending more information, book recommendations. So that's kind of like a bit personalized. You can think about how to do that. But the ask we've got here is please follow us on our social media channels, Facebook and Instagram. Again, it's about keeping you in their minds. So if they're just kind of browsing Facebook or Instagram as people do, they might come across one of your posts on their feed and they'll start thinking of you more. So it's how can you use these kind of things to get people engaged? And as you can see here, we've got Barbara has signed this personally with a kind of like a signature here. Now, obviously, as you can see from the top, this is actually an automated email, but it does look like, Barbara sent it herself or people kind of associating someone with it. So it feels like more of that personal one-to-one connection rather than, the faceless automated email that, oh, thanks for your donation, just from the organization. No, someone specific at the organization kind of looks like they've reached out. And here's our second example, the membership email. So we've got, again, starting off with the merge tags, the first name, the membership tier, if gold, silver, whatever you are. And here, the big ask we've got after thanking them for joining up is all about joining the member portal. We'll be talking about that a bit later. We've talked about it on previous webinars, if any of you have been for those. But yeah, that's what we're asking people here. Go set up an account. And as you can see, it's slightly in the middle, but we've made it stand out with that bold and underline. And clearly, as a hyperlink, it also has a different color to it. So again, hyperlinks can be made to stand out quite clearly from those kind of different things. Another thing we've done is we've linked people to some resources. So we have a new member FAQ and we put that like on a website or somewhere and said you can get in touch. So just respond to this email essentially and people can get in touch with you. And so looking now beyond it to the beyond welcome emails, what are we going to be doing next? Well, what we need to be doing is thinking about our timeline. So what is next? Well, first thing we're going to be thinking about is how long should onboarding be? I mean, what are we exactly trying to communicate? And, that might be, you can think about that from different angles, just, is it lots of services? Make a list of all the different things that you're trying to communicate. Maybe all the different campaigns you're running, you might not necessarily want to communicate all that, but really kind of almost make a list of things that you think is really important for the person to know. Also think about how complex your organization's mission is. So, if it's spanning lots of different areas, you've got many different community projects, you might take a bit longer to communicate all of these with someone than if you've got a very focused mission, which is much simpler to communicate. What are your resources? So, we'd all love to have infinite resources, but sadly we don't. So how much time have you got to devote to actually building up these onboarding resources? Possibly if you have more time, you can have more different things. You can have a more tailored, personalized journey. And we'll be talking a bit about, how you can get a bit more advanced with all this later. But if you want to keep it to a more simple level, just put the very basics in, maybe, don't be too ambitious. Make sure it's something that you can actually achieve while still making sure that you deliver great value and kind of really improve your onboarding journey. So some tips we've got here is don't put too much in each communication. Again, like the welcome email, you can do multiple ones. Try and keep it to one to kind of like 1 or 2 or maybe 3 at most points. So people can kind of read the email or whatever communication, know instantly what the point is. Don't send out too many too quickly. So don't email your new member, your new donor every day. They probably won't appreciate that. They'll probably stop reading it. They'll probably be like, okay, this is overwhelming me. Make sure you try and space it out a bit and maybe interact with different types of touch points in between, as we'll be discussing in a second. And again, always restate your mission. Remind the person why they are supporting you, what it is you do, and what exactly your mission is going forwards. So what are your touch points? We'll start with the obvious one because we've already talked about it with welcome email. The welcome email really is just the start. So touch points here is kind of like, what are the different ways that we can communicate one-on-one, or, at least in a good setting with the person we're trying to communicate with. With email, a really great thing that you can do is you could have a new supporter mailing list. So maybe you could have people who donated within a set time period, within the last few months, or members who signed up within the last few months, and then you can tailor kind of like whole special thing for people who've just signed up. You could also automate a structured journey. So, journeys, what we've been talking about a lot today. Think about, they'll get this one email, they'll get this second email, they'll get this third email, and that's all kind of great stuff that you can do using different tools like CRMs and marketing automation tools. But obviously, there's more than that to how we can communicate. Email's a nice and simple way. Everyone uses it, but we can also think about events, and you'll probably be inviting people by email as well. But think about, maybe I've got a new cohort of members, new cohort of donors. Maybe we can do a welcome event for them. Now, if you've got the resources and it's quite a local thing, maybe we do that in person, always great. But you can even do it online. You can have a nice meeting session, nice coffee, online meeting session, lots of different ideas you can do for that. You could also encourage them to attend your other events. So if you're running other events, say, hey, we've got this great event, come along to it. Just kind of put a list of a few things in a quite early email to kind of encourage them to really start getting involved in your community. Because the more involved they are in your community, you're building some kind of real connection to not just you and your organization, but to all the people who surround it and all the great people who are supporting your cause. And of course, here's a fun little idea. You could do a new badges for new supporters at some of your events, kind of make them stand out. Maybe not everyone wants that, but the kind of point I'm making here is if you're going to get these new supporters at your events, you might want to make a special effort to try and talk to them and get them engaged. So, really make them feel welcome, so they're not kind of standing at the edges, not sure what they're doing. So, yeah. Other way you can do is phone calls. So maybe this is something, if you have the resources, we're going to say, phone calls take a lot more resources. You're going to need someone to manually do this. But I would recommend that you think about this if you have some really new VIPs that you're going to be dealing with. So by VIPs, someone who's donated £1,000 or a top tier membership that you've got come in, you might want to prioritize speaking to them and finding more about them. You might not have the resources, to do this for someone who's donated, just £5 to you, but really think about, is there a way I can engage these really high value people, and how can we make sure that they have the best experience? And also, you might want to find out more about them, because it's a great way to find information. If you talk to people on the phone, you're not going to just ring them and say, oh, hey, thanks for, signing up. Thanks for donating. You're probably going to have a bit more of a conversation to build that kind of personal connection. So you can then tailor their experience more and really, find out what they want and how you can really build that relationship. And the fourth way that I'm going to talk about here is direct mail. So perhaps not as flashy in the modern day. Some people forget about it. I think that's a bit of a mistake. But lots of people really like to receive an information pack in the post. And certainly you might want to think about the demographic of your the people, your supporters. So certainly if you have an older audience, they might be more interested in getting something in the post. If you have a really young audience, they might prefer it all being online, but not necessarily. It really depends on what you're doing with your mission. So if you're doing something where there's something valuable you can send out, then send it out, that physical information pack, because you can also send them out merchandise. And that can be something like stickers, badges, but you could also send out something like posters. So, if you're doing something very informational, you think it'd be good to send out posters and people seem to respond to that, then that's also something you can include in your upfront thing. And here, kind of almost as a bonus point, social media. So I haven't really included it here because in general, it's not really a one-on-one situation here, because, you can encourage people to follow, as we've said, but it's quite difficult to kind of interact with people one-on-one on social media if you're dealing with a lot of people. The way that I would think about doing this, though, is for the very specific use case of those of you who, if any of you are membership organizations who have organizational members, as in organizations are your members, you might want to interact with them on your social media channels after they join you, because, those tend to be more limited in scale in terms of the number of members that you get. So it's a lot more kind of realistic than tagging 50,000 people, or 1,000 people, or whatever it is, as people are joining. So yeah, that's something just to keep in mind as a bonus. But I realize in most things it's probably not really part of the onboarding plan. Of course, we've got this great onboarding plan that we're thinking of, thinking, oh, we've got all these great emails, but what are we actually emailing all these people? What are we talking to them about? So some different things that you might want to think about. And, obviously, this is just when we're talking about onboarding. There are different things that you might want to put in a full kind of ongoing engagement journey. But success stories, case studies, whatever you want to call them, really show the impact of what you're doing on any communities you're working with, how it's impacted individual members' lives, make people kind of like really relate to it. And what I'm going to kind of like show with various of these is what you're trying to communicate is human stories, not just kind of almost impersonal, this is our organization, blah, 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 blah. No, these are what's the real human impact. And that's what people really want to read about. Videos. Video content is absolutely fantastic. People like engaging in general more with videos than text nowadays. I realize, and from personal experience, it takes more time to make a video, so you have to think that out a bit more. But if there are any obvious videos you can make, some kind of like just something with a team, or something, just showing some of the work you've done, think about how you can put that together, simply if needs be, and communicate that to people, because it will generally get quite good engagement. And kind of like almost an offshoot of that, if you have some kind of physical venue or something, think about a virtual tour, make people feel like they're there before they've already been there. And it just helps people connect more to what you're doing. And yeah, as I said, meet the team. You can do that also in a written form as well. But who are the people who work for you? Again, putting a personal face on your organization. So these are the kind of things that you can probably, it doesn't take too long to kind of talk to a team member, come up with a few questions, and then you can write something out. And that kind of stuff sounds simple, but actually people quite value that, just talking about something simple like the work you do or the different projects people have worked on. Of course, if you do provide services, it goes without saying you want to be communicating information about those services. Again, don't put it all at one time, but something you want to be considering. And one of our favorites, ask for feedback surveys. So send those out by email, or, as I said, you can do it over the phone even, but try and get feedback on how people are feeling, not just about your onboarding journey, though certainly do that, but maybe just about broader themes. And you can get some really invaluable insights from people on this that, as we'll be talking about later, the metrics just aren't going to cover by themselves. So, think about how you can improve things. So let's have a look at some more specific timelines. We had a look at the kind of very generic timeline earlier, but let's take two example organizations. So one example is going to first look at a food bank, so a charity. And the second one is we're going to look at a cycling organization who are kind of like more involved with membership. So this is going to be the food bank. It's going to be kind of almost a fully automated journey. So this is going to be perhaps a bit simpler, a bit less resources intensive. On the first day, we're going to be sending people out the welcome email, almost in day zero, the welcome email with asking people to do their social sign-up. So please sign up to our social media is the ask we're going to put on that. After that, we're going to think about, well, we'll leave it a couple of days and then we'll put out an email with a virtual tour. We're a food bank. It makes sense. We want people to see what our facilities are like, what facilities the people who are coming in for the food are going to kind of be interacting with. So again, making people feel connected because they might not necessarily have visited the location yet. The seventh day, well, food bank. So we're going to want to inform people on how to actually give us food. Great, they've given us a donation, monetary donation in this case, but actually we'd also appreciate some direct food help. So this is how you do it. This is the kind of foods that we appreciate. You could do all sorts of things to this. You could put kind of like a PDF if you want of kind of like the different foods that are and aren't accepted. People want to make a printout, they can, but some great little things you could do there. Day 18, we'll just leave it a bit. We don't want to bombard people too much. We'll put all about a user story of the food bank. So we can kind of see, what is it like for the people who are actually using the food bank, what it means to them, really communicating again on that human level about, well, what's the story here? Why is my donation being so invaluable, and why is it really helping things? And then the last kind of like point on this onboarding journey, and of course it continues after this. You know, you're not going to stop communicating after this point. But here we're going to start asking something a bit more advanced. We're going to ask, well, this is how volunteering would work at the food bank, if you're interested, and give them some more information on that. So by the end of the onboarding journey, maybe you're starting to think about some more intermediate asks. As for our next organization, we're thinking about, you know, our cycling organization, our membership organization. So again, they're starting with their welcome email because, of course, social signups, but they're doing something a bit different here. They have a bit more, a few more resources. So they're doing a hybrid automated kind of like system, a way of doing their timeline. So they're going to do some things which aren't fully on rails, unlike the other organization. But what they're doing on day 3 is they're going to send out an invite to a cycle ride event for new joiners in the area. So this is about how can we actually get the person to interact with our events, get them out and about. Cycling organization wants to see them there. Not just kind of like emails. How do we get them involved in person as well? Day 7, we're going to do something with post. We're going to send them out a membership badge and sticker. You know, people like that. Maybe they want to put it on bike, their helmet, wherever they want to put it. Day 12, this cycling organization also offers insurance. So they want to make sure that they're sending out some information about that. So this is an important thing. Obviously, also a sense of kind of like a source of revenue, but this is something that's going to help, and they'll be, you know, probably giving some kind of great deal to their members. So here you want to make sure you're doing that. And on day 15, they go for a call. So we talked about calls. Cycling organization, probably a, you know, good size, but you want to be finding out, well, why has this person joined us? What is it they're looking for? There's all different types of cycling. You know, are they looking for country cycling, city cycling, what level competency cyclists they are? You also maybe want to be following up about the insurance. Maybe they haven't responded to that. So lots of things you can achieve in that call, and actually quite a good call to put kind of just an activity on your onboarding journey. Day 25, again, leaving it a little bit. We want to kind of email people a highlight video of our past rides. So maybe they've signed up to our ride by now, but in any case, we want to make sure these are the different rides we've done around different places. You know, you put a few videos together and make it really exciting, put some nice music, and yeah, this is what you could be doing with us. These are the fun activities you can have. And again, engaging the person. And then day 40, we put out a survey email. This can be asking about what you think about the onboarding. Is there anything you'd like to hear more information about? That's a key question. You know, you've put together this is what you think they want to hear, but is there something that they've seen on your website or seen somewhere in your membership package that they haven't heard about, that they really would have wanted to see more information about? So this is, you know, where you can get a lot of great information. So those are a couple of examples you can do. And obviously this is very specific to whatever organization you run. So, you know, really tailor your own timelines here. But this is the kind of way you want to be thinking about it and planning out different communications, different days. And yeah, obviously with some of these, yeah, you want to, you know, might want to tailor it around a bit, depending on if you're working days or whatever, but yeah. So let's now talk about the continuing journey. We've talked a bit about, you know, all of the basic onboarding, but going forwards beyond the onboarding and, you know, towards the end of the onboarding, what are we actually trying to do? And as we've already kind of said, what we're really trying to do out of this with the onboarding is we're trying to get stronger at securing our renewals and repeat donations. So once we're coming to the end of the onboarding journey, you know, and there will be an end of it at some point, we want to be thinking, how are we continuing the regular engagement? Don't just kind of like talk to them a lot for a month or two and then stop. You know, maybe you're not talking to them quite as much anymore, but make sure that you have something ongoing and regular. And also think about some special milestones that you could be covering during this period or perhaps in the future. So if there are any membership anniversaries, you know, this might be their yearly membership anniversary, although you could do it at, you know, 3 months, 6 months, or however often you want to do it. You want to think about the donation levels that people are going to be reaching. So for instance, if people have reached £100, they could become a friend of your charity. If they've reached £500, they become a patron. £1,000, they could become an ambassador. It's how do we recognize people and make them feel seen by us and make them feel valued? And again, something that you probably want to collect as a data as part of your onboarding journey is the supporter's birthday. Getting an email out to someone on their birthday makes them feel valued by you. They feel remembered by you. And also, you know, if you're a charity, it's quite good because maybe they're receiving some gifts from, you know, monetary gifts from friends and family, and you want to be in their face at that point. So You never know. But there are different things that you want to remember there. And also super, super important when it comes to renewals or repeat things, make sure that you automate these things, that you get more set up in advance. And we've talked about this in the webinars that you can see on the side in the past, but we'd recommend really start thinking about renewal at least 3 months before. If you're thinking about it in the week before, it's too late. You're probably going to struggle and have a lot of people that you need to chase up manually. And this really does depend, we would say, on kind of like the complexity of your organization and the renewal process. If you're a big membership organization with really complicated, complex organizational members, maybe it's going to take a bit longer to renew and do all that. So really plan it ahead. But in any case, yeah, you want to be thinking about this well before. How can we move them towards it rather than just think about it last minute? And of course, another great thing to say is that you want to be automating these follow-ups. So if they don't, put the renewal in immediately, automate any follow-ups. If you're not doing, I think in that webinar, as we discussed, like under 30% of organizations are actually automating their follow-ups. So that means the rest of them are probably just doing it manually. And if you think of that, trying to ring people, just even trying to write manual emails, you can get the system, and a system like Civi or other CRMs kind of just send out an email saying, it's been 7 days, after you're supposed to have done it. Where's your, please, can you provide your renewal? We miss you. We want to see you back. And you can, automate that based on time. Another part of the continuing journey really is how do we measure the success of this onboarding process? So we want to be analyzing everything we're doing using reporting. It's not really good enough just to kind of, say, oh, we've got this great new onboarding journey, but we think it's great. We're asking people, but we're not really sure. You want to have some really good queries set up that you're thinking about how we're going to gather the data to prove these things. So which content that you're producing on your onboarding journey is most engaged with. Maybe, your welcome email, hopefully that's got some good clicks and opens. So clicks and opens might be a good one for email, for instance. But maybe like a video that you do as part of the onboarding journey gets a lot of people engaging with it. And so seeing which parts are more engaged with and less engaged with can also give you a good handle on things. And then you also want to see what impact this has on highlighting services that you provide possibly. So if you do provide services, before the onboarding process kind of changed to kind of really emphasize that, what was the level? And after you've changed the onboarding process, has the usage of that service actually increased? And you can do this not just for onboarding, you can do this in general, with your standard communications, but these are things that you might want to measure. And if it's not increasing and people do seem to still be engaging with it, maybe that means that, you're not communicating it properly, or it could even be that maybe there's just like a level that people want this service and not much further. So maybe it might be another service you want to highlight instead. And a super important one is, do onboarding changes increase renewals or repeat donations? So this is going to take some time. You're going to need the data, but if you introduce it and then a year down the line, have a look, how are what's your renewal rate now versus how it was in the past? Has it increased? If it has, well, it looks like your onboarding process might be doing some, good work there. If it's not, well, maybe we need to look at the onboarding process again, or maybe the whole journey overall. But these are the kind of things you want to be thinking about. And it's, of course, not just the kind of quantitative stuff, the kind of things that you can get really out of your database. You want to be thinking about using surveys as well for extra insights, kind of like for people to add their thoughts, their feelings. These are the things that you can take away and kind of really craft into something. And of course, make sure that you do take actions based on the results you're finding here. It's very easy to gather all these results and think, oh, this is really interesting data, and then kind of just sit on it. Make sure that you're taking actions and go, yeah, actually, we're going to highlight this service more. We're going to talk about this in a slightly different way. So on to the next section, which is all about advanced engagement. So we've talked quite a lot about personalizing today, and this advanced engagement section is really, maybe not everyone wants to do these things, but we think if you've got more resources, or you really think they're going to bring value specifically to your organization, it's really worth investing what you can. Beyond the very basic personalization, you want things to be as personalized as possible. You want people to feel special. You want them to feel individual. So what you could do as part of your onboarding journey, you can use custom content based on what you might know about people, the kind of things that you might collect in your database. And again, you can do this as part of your kind of sign up forms, or you could do this, from the phone calls. You can do this in lots of different ways over the course of your journey. But, what are their interests? What's the interests of the people with regards to your organization? Are there specific campaigns that they've donated to? What's their geographic location? And all of these different things can be used to kind of really tailor how you do your onboarding journey in a specific way. So, for instance, we want to be highlighting local events. Say someone lives in Scotland, we don't want to be sending them events, down at the bottom of England or, France or something. We want to be making sure that the events are really kind of in their area, so they're going to be really relevant to them, so they're more likely to go. You also want to be thinking about featuring success stories that are related to any campaigns they've donated to. So maybe you have like 10 success stories on file or something. If we know what they've donated to, they're going to want to see that one. We know that straight away. Not another one. Put that one in front of them, and they'll then be able to say, oh, this is great. And also think about promoting services that are relevant to their interests. So if you've got like a membership organization and they're really specifically interested in some parts of what you do, make sure those are the things you put in front of them. Over time, you can introduce them to the other things, but immediately, those are the things they probably care about most. Well, they have said they care about most, so really put those first and foremost. And now we've thought about like kind of personalization, we'll move back to the asks. We've talked quite a lot about those today. And the way that I like to think about asks and, is there are different types of asks and, different types of actions you want people to take in emails. And some of them are simpler than others. And certainly when we're talking about a journey, you want to start with the simpler ones. You want to start with the ones where people who, possibly don't know you as well, or, aren't as invested yet, can just do very simply and very quickly. So things like the social media shares and follows, that's a very easy ask. You can ask people to do that immediately. They'll probably do that if they're engaged with you. Yes, I would go for that. Things like filling in a survey. Again, it helps if it's short. People like short surveys, but that's something you can ask after, of course, they've, they have something to say, but don't do it in the welcome email probably. But that's something that's quite simple for people to do. And of course, using org services. So if your organization has services, that's something they're actually, they've paid to use. So ask them to use it. That's an easy thing to ask people to use. After that, you want to be thinking maybe about your more intermediate asks. And these are the ones that you might be moving on towards the end of your onboarding journey. Things that maybe you can't ask immediately. They might want a bit more familiarity with your organization, but these are certainly things that, you want to be getting to people. So thinking about that might include some volunteering, some mentoring, depending on what your organization does. If you can start encouraging them that way. Wouldn't probably go too hard on it, if it's like a month or something, but at the same time, it's something you might want to start introducing. Another thing you might think about if it's, within your remit, peer-to-peer fundraising. So that might be you're running a marathon, you're doing a coffee morning, whatever it is. That might be something that you start moving towards. Oh, can you help us out with this? This would be great if you can do it. And that way, you're introducing them to something else. And of course, referrals. So this could be introducing new members. This could be introducing new donors. Asking them, kind of, are there any people around you who might be doing it? And think of if there's any kind of incentive or some kind of way that you can kind of encourage them and, maybe even just providing them a nice graphic to send to someone. After which we get to the kind of really advanced ask. And these are things that you probably want to make sure that people are a bit more, familiar with you, probably not part of the onboarding journey, to be perfectly honest, but it's thinking about how to scale these things up. So we've talked about basic volunteering. And at this point, you might want to be doing something more advanced, like joining an advisory board or committee. So this is a bit more responsibility, perhaps, than a normal volunteer, but quite good for, your organization, and it can really get them involved. Testimonials. So this is where someone's going to put their, especially for a membership organization, if someone wants to put their face and their name, saying this organization's great, they're not going to do that immediately because they want to know that, want to engage with you a bit more. And, certainly from your point of view, you want someone who's a bit more familiar with you to say that first. So that might be something to think about down the line, but that can be really, really powerful at building credibility within your kind of community. And of course, there's legacy giving as well. So, for the charities out there, legacy giving, asking someone to, donate to you in that way, that's something that is quite an advanced ask, and you might want to kind of delay a bit and put after other asks. So lots of different asks there. And again, these are just some examples, but just think about how you're going to scale up your asks over time. Not every ask is equal. Try and start with the simpler ones. And we've mentioned it earlier, but great thing that you can add, and certainly as part of CiviPlus, as you can see from the nice graphic there, is a self-service portal. So self-service portals can be a great central hub for new supporters. So by this, I mean they're kind of like a great place for supporters to go in and just kind of find everything about your organization in a really easy to find place. Because it's not even like, because, the difference, say, between your website and the portal is your website's for everyone. Your portal is specifically for the members, for your supporters. So it's more tailored to them. It's not got all the stuff, that you're just communicating to the general public. It's, no, you're my supporter. This is the specific stuff you might want to see. So for instance, great thing they can do there instantly is they can update their details. So this is something that could be very useful. Maybe you can collect some of their details as part of the onboarding journey, and then you can encourage them to put extras onto your portal, or if they change address, it's great for that. They can see news tailored to them. Again, you can put them in a specific beginner track. They can sign up for events, local to them. You can make it tailored, download any invoices. Super useful in the onboarding journey, especially for organizations. They can download their invoices, do all their taxes and all that kind of fun stuff. Check on membership status. So, when is it that I'm going to renew? Can just see it instantly. They don't have to email you. They don't have to, figure it out from like some past email they've got. They can go straight into the portal, go, oh, my membership is up in, a couple of months. Okay, that's where it is. And, of course, they can renew there as well. But and then another great thing that you can do in a membership portal or self-service portal is that you can connect with other supporters using a member directory. So you can have a whole great collection of all the different people within who support your organization, assuming they want to be in there. And you can really build that sense of credibility and community. And maybe there is someone in there that is actually really relevant to the person who's just signed up or that they might want to connect with. And so this is a great way to start building those social bonds between your community. And speaking of social bonds, you can also have a community platform. So this is something, again, maybe a bit more advanced, but your community can help onboarding. We've talked a lot about today about all the different things that you can do as an organization to kind of onboard people. But you've got to remember, it's not just you that's kind of like that will do that. It's also if you have a community around you, people who are experienced your organization, who are passionate about your organization, they can also help you do that. They can be your advocates, as we said earlier. And you can do this in a way using traditional social media. Of course, you can use Facebook, you can use LinkedIn. But of course, to some extent, they have their limitations. They're great for what they do, but they do have their limitations. They can't do everything. You've got ads on the side and all that kind of fun stuff. So what you can do instead is you can also make a branded community platform, your own dedicated kind of almost social media platform, which you can use to kind of connect new supporters. On there, you can use it to create dedicated spaces for different discussions that you think people should be having or that they might want to be having. You can mess around with lots of permissions of all these things. And you can use your experienced supporters as your advocates. So if you've had people who've supported you for several years, you can almost like let them introduce the new people, go, oh, this is some really good services. This is how you can use X and Y. And they can do all of this for you. And again, it's like, think about how you can use people within your community in a broader way to do all this onboarding, alongside you. And yeah, they can advocate and they can, give great tips. And another, I think kind of almost a concluding point here, they can start creating social bonds with new supporters. And this is really, really important because it makes them feel connected, not just to your organization, but to the people surrounding it, and really makes them feel valued and, really enjoy all the time they spend around your cause and your mission. So definitely think about how you can be leveraging your community. And this goes through to events as well, but your community can really be a very, very big part of the onboarding process. It's not just, we have to do everything ourselves. And so we're now at the summary point, after which I'll hand over to Louise, but to kind of summarize the kind of things that we've discussed today. With the welcome email, keep it brief, but make sure you're asking something. Clearly define a timeline. Make sure you know what you're saying in your different touch points. Make sure to measure success. Don't just have it go in a vacuum. Make sure, is this working? Is it not? Think about evolving asks over time. So start at the simpler ones and think how we can build them up to bigger asks. And finally, big point here, but make sure to personalize your communications. Make people feel individual, make them feel valued. And so, with that being said, I'm going to pass over to Louise, who's going to talk a little bit more about CiviPlus.
Wow, thank you very much, Alex. There was a lot to take in there and a lot of excellent things to think about in terms of creating those journeys. And what better way to support those journeys than by using CiviPlus. So let me just tell you very quickly about CiviPlus, and then we'll have time if there are any questions or thoughts at the end. So CiviPlus is dedicated nonprofit CRM. It's easy to use, it's powerful, it's cost effective, and it's an all-in-one solution of Civi CRM, hosted and secure, so you don't have to worry about any of those things. So CiviPlus basically has so many features included that we say it's about, future-proofing your organization. So sorry, my computer just went weird there. Right, sorry. Sorry. Yeah, so next slide. So what does CiviPlus do? So I'm just going to run through some of the features that CiviPlus includes, so you've got an idea of all the different things that it can support you with. So of course, managing contacts. Civi is, really great at understanding lots of different relationships within a nonprofit organization. I'm sure many of you are already taking advantage of that already. Taking payments online, CiviPlus uses Stripe and Go Cardless as the payment processor. So Go Cardless is a new feature that is about taking direct debits, which is really good for, you don't have to encourage the renewals, they just happen. So tracking fundraising opportunities, of course, very important to be able to have those pipelines of major donors, grants and foundations, and any, keeping track of any donations that are coming in. Membership management. CiviPlus has a very comprehensive membership management capability, which we can go into in lots of different other webinars. Events, CPD, and conferences. So that has a built-in events module, so you can run all of your events through CiviPlus, and you don't have to go to an external event platform. The same with the email. There's a drag and drop email builder built in, so you can design beautiful email communications, send them out, and then track all the opens against someone's contact. Very useful if part of your onboarding journey is you're going to pick up the phone. You want to see if they've opened the email that you sent them as part of their journey. So that gives you an idea. So things like that can really help you. Case management, if your organization manages any kind of casework, helpline or inquiries. Task dashboard, really useful. Again, assigning yourself those tasks to, if it is such as, engaging with new VIP donors or whatever it may be. Reporting and analytics, so you can keep track of all those metrics and try and see that impact that Alex was talking about after you've made these changes. There are about 100 reports already built into CiviPlus, but you can create your own. Surveys and petitions, as Alex has been saying a lot, ask the people what they want. So you'll be able to send them out through the system, get that data back, and be able to analyze it. Managing volunteers, we can manage volunteers through CiviPlus, through applications and certifications and training. Tracking any kind of application, actually. And then the other side of that, grant management as well. So maybe you're going to track applicants for you to then give out grants, whatever it might be. There is a certificate generator in there, which can be really fantastic for so many use cases in terms of maybe you want to give a certificate to a member to prove their membership status. Maybe you want to give a certificate to somebody who's run a marathon for you and raised loads of money, whatever it might be. And of course, the all-important self-service portal, which really is the plus in CiviPlus, which Alex has already spoken about. So we'll just take a little quick first look. I know some of you are using Civi CRM already. Not all Civis look the same. So this is what CiviPlus looks like. We've got Mr. Tony Stark. He's a good friend of ours. And we can see all of his key information very clearly laid out in front of us. And then on the left-hand side is all the other areas of the system that he is connected to. So you can see any contributions he's made just by clicking in there. See any membership he holds, events he's been to, mailings. He hasn't opened any mailings, but you can keep track of all of that there. So we're not going to dive into that now, but we just wanted to give you a little bit of an insight into, or a sneak peek into what CiviPlus looks like. So what we'd really love to do actually is to talk to you in person, because everyone's needs are so different. And the best thing to do is really understand you and your needs, and then we can give you a more personalized demo. So Jack actually wasn't able to join us today. He is our account manager, and I are always on hand to have a more detailed conversation, a more personalized conversation. Alex, you told us to be personalized all the time. Would love to be more personalized and have a one-to-one conversation with you. So we will be sending out a video recording of this session with our contact details. Please do book a meeting if you'd like to chat. And I think that is it for today. So thank you all very much for joining us. Thank you very much, Alex, for a wonderful webinar. If anyone would like to ask any questions, we will stay back for a little bit. But I think I will conclude and end the recording here, and just wish everyone a very lovely festive season and a very happy new year. And we look forward to seeing you more in 2024.
Yeah, thanks everyone.